One of the articles I saw jump out at me on the web was a question a particular person put forward. They say they believe that science and religion are in conflict from time to time. This person ridicules religious dogma, and they really see that because science holds that no idea is sacred, it's inevitable that it draws people away from religion. And there seemed to be also this sense in what I was reading through, the idea that since in a way, religion requires faith or dogma where you have to believe things that can't be proven. That runs totally contrary to science. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously there's two questions placed in there. The first one is, our faith in science, completely contradictory, and the answer to that is no. They're not contradictory. Yes, they have very different methods. One is dependent upon the self-revelation of God, and one requires faith. That would be religion, and another one is really looking at an explanatory or descriptive method that's generally empirical, mathematical, and it has its precise way of dealing with things. But the conclusions themselves are not opposed at all. And in previous programs, I've talked about the evidence for God, from contemporary science. So I've talked about that Board of Elenkin and Guth proof that show not only that our universe would need a beginning, but a multiverse would need a beginning. Indeed, a universe in the higher dimensional space of string theory would need a beginning. Indeed, it seems like every known configurable universal structure that we could have requires a beginning according to the Board of Elenkin and Guth proof, which means that it is highly likely that physical reality itself needed a beginning, no matter what configuration it's in. Multiverse, right? Higher dimensional space universe and string theory are just plain our own universe. So whatever the case may be, if physical reality needs a beginning, obviously, prior to that beginning, physical reality was nothing. And if physical reality was nothing, it could only do nothing. Therefore, when it was nothing, it could not have moved itself from nothing to something, because it could only do nothing because it was nothing. And therefore, something else which exists outside the universe, something else which is fundamentally beyond the universe, creates the universe as a whole with its physical time and space, with its constants and laws, with its mass and energy, creates the entire thing out of nothing as a whole. And that's something else outside or beyond the universe which creates it, we call a creator or God. Now, this is, I'm not citing something from faith, right? This is the consequence of the Board of Elenkin and Guth proof. It's also the consequence of the entropy evidence, which I haven't discussed. And you put it together with the consequences of nothing, being prior to the beginning. Now, there are a lot of people like Stephen Hawking who claim that nothing is really not nothing, that nothing is really the laws of gravitation or something of that nature. But this is silliness, and I have analyzed this in many an article on magiscenter.com, M-A-G-I-S center.com. There's an entire videotape on why nothing is not just empty space, why nothing is not a zero energy configuration of a quantum field, why nothing is not, an energy configuration, false vacuum of a quantum field, why nothing is not the laws of gravitation. Nothing is just plain old nothing, and we shouldn't be sneaking something into nothing and calling it nothing. When physical reality was nothing, it was nothing. You combine these conclusions from entropy, Board of Elenkin and Guth proof, and the simple metaphysics of nothing, you're going to wind up getting very close to a creator. And of course, there's much fine-tuning evidence, which we may discuss in this program, may not discuss in this program, that also I've discussed on magiscenter.com, that gives you the fine-tuning evidence for why that creator would be intelligent. Indeed, super intelligent. And I might just conclude with Fred Hoyle, who used to be the greatest atheistic gadfly who ever lived, Sir Fred Hoyle. Finally, of course, Hoyle at one point in his life declares, right after he's seen, some coincidences that are just too much for him to bear, and he phrases it this way: I don't think that there are any blind forces worth speaking about. It seems to me that there must be some super calculating, super intellect which has monkeyed with the constants of physics and those of chemistry and biology as well. I consider this conclusion to be beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now that came from, obviously, a converted Fred Hoyle, who actually looked at the scientific evidence and found this conclusion.